y'all give me a thumbs up. Let me so give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready.
This is different.
Appears to get long.
Yeah.
Y'all know our pass game coordinator, tight ends coach, Kyle Richardson. Y'all fire away with questions whenever you're ready.
Coach, what's the biggest difference you think in the passing game, both between Cade and DJ and with this new offense that Garrett Riley's bringing in?
Yeah, from a standpoint of just passing game, schematically, it's simple. Not a lot of plays, and you take those plays and you mix and match them into different formations and motions to make them look different to a defense, but to the quarterback, there's still those 10 plays or whatever it is, but it's just a handful of stuff. And, from a quarterback standpoint, I'm not gonna make a comparison between Cade and DJ because they're playing in two different systems and they're not the same. But at the same time, we've done some things, like I said, schematically that I think will take advantage of our personnel, take advantage of our skill set at the receiver position, at the tight end position, at the running back position, and it's only going to benefit the quarterbacks that we're bringing in here, and currently with Cade and CV, and Hunter Helms has done a great job learning the system and being able to execute it. And today at practice, we made some big plays offensively, a really good day at practice, and they're just starting to get more comfortable with it. And as the quarterbacks get more comfortable, they become more confident, and then that starts to just kind of spread throughout the rest of the group. So it's just, I would say, if I put it in one word, simple.
Quick programming note real quick, if anybody wants to step out, Cole Turner started as well, if not continue.
I think last year at this time, simplifying was one of the buzzwords too. Was the difference then compared to now just eliminating a lot of the stuff that had built up in the playbook over years, and now it's just a matter of reducing it even more?
Yeah, it's different because last year simplifying was trying to simplify the system that we were in and trying to eliminate some things that we don't run a lot or we put in and don't run during the season. So that simplifying was totally different than what I'm saying now. From this offense scheme schematically is just simple and it's easy. Last year we were trying to take a bunch of years that had kind of probably jumped on top of each other and addition, and there wasn't a lot of subtraction. So when I got the job last year, that was one of the things I wanted to do is kind of subtract some things. We're quick to add a lot of stuff, and all offenses are like that. You're quick to add a lot of stuff and not really think about it. And then next thing you know, you go from, a system of this to, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of stuff. So last year when I was talking simplifying, and that's what we did as an offense, we did simplify. We took out some stuff that we didn't run a lot, or we were just practicing and repping because that's the way we had done it years before. Now it's totally different because again, it's a totally different scheme. So when you hear the buzzword simple, it's because the scheme is simple. We're not coming in, and going, hey, we need to simplify things. It's already simplified. Now we need to go rep it. Now we need to go learn it. Now we need to be, like I said, we need to be comfortable with it, and then that comfortable will lead to confidence. And you can slowly see that happening every single day. That we get more time with it, whether it's mental reps or physical reps. It's not just about practicing the days that we practice. We get 15 times out on the field, but that's not how many times we get in the classroom learning this system too. So that's part of it.
Coach Richardson spoke about freedom for the quarterbacks and receivers, and how there's some freedom there. Can you just elaborate somewhat on that?
It's one of those things where this system just kind of allows them to play. Where in the past there may have been, hey, this route has to be like this, it's got to be this many steps, or it's got to be run to this vicinity and you have to stay in this spot or whatever. This is a little bit of, hey, this is where we want you to go, and on the way there, if some things happen, then let's play football. So that's probably what he was meaning by that. But I tell the tight ends all the time, like, defensive coaches get paid too, you know, and defensive coaches spend a lot of time game planning and trying to scheme you up. So I may draw up a look, or I may show you a look, and that's the perfect look, you know, because I'm drawing it up, and I want it to look perfect or look right so I can teach it to you. But then you get out on the field and it don't look that way, or it's different. And that's what that means, you know. Here's how we gotta install it, and here's what we're installing it against. But when you get out there and the coaches aren't between the white lines, you still gotta go play football. And you still gotta find a way to make this play work. So that's kind of what that means. And there's some plays in the system like, no, it's black and white, you know. But there's a lot of plays within this system that not only the quarterback has some freedom to check one dude or to change something, the receiver also has some freedom, the tight end has some freedom, the running back has some freedom. Hey, I went here when you told me to go here and it wasn't there, so now I'm going here. And that's okay, we're all on the same page. But the biggest thing is long as we're making definitive decisions that the quarterback knows why we're doing what we're doing, and we're both on the same page, whether it's quarterback and tight end, quarterback receiver, quarterback and running back, even if you're wrong in making that decision, if he knows why you're making the decision and where you're going, we can still make it right. And that's kind of what that means.
I guess last year, the concept was option routes and putting options in there. I mean, is there now more control just in the quarterback's hands in terms of defining what is gonna happen, or what's the difference between the option routes you guys had last year and what you're able to change?
Yeah, we're really not, you know, this system's not a big option route system. It's like I said, it's more, hey, you're running this route and you need to run this route. Now, if things happen within that route while you're running that route, you could change some things up. From like last year, it was, hey, you could go right or you could go left based off some things, and that's not really how this system works. So we're not living in that world. You know, we changed some things last year to make some of our plays just help ourselves in some of those plays, but with this system, you really don't have to do that. Like I said, it's more about, hey, I'm going right. I may go right high, I may go right low, but I'm going right. And there's no like, I may go right, left, or straight based off of where the defense is. And that's kind of what that was last year when we were tweaking some things. And then some of those things, like we saw production and we saw some good things happen from those things. But now none of that matters. We're not doing that really much anymore.
You talk about simplicity of scheme. Is that one of the things that enabled TCU's offense to go so fast? And do you expect this offense to be noticeably faster than last year?
Yeah, you know, the good thing about, you know, this offense is, with it being simple, with not a lot of plays, you can play faster, and one of the big reasons why you can play faster is because you're thinking faster, and the mental side of it is not slowed down. So, yeah, we'll be able to control the tempo however we want to, but the play calls get in quicker. You know, we're not, you know, in this system, the Garrett is gonna signal the play. You don't have boards and you don't have all that other stuff. In the past, in order for us to get a play going, there was a lot of stuff that had to happen and orchestrated to even get the play call in. And then from there was a ton of communication that had to happen to get the play call started. So you don't see that much in this offense. So if you want to play fast, there's opportunities to play faster because it is, like I said, it's easier, it's simple. Play calls aren't as long and as detailed. But if you want to play slow, you play slow. You want to huddle, you want to huddle. You know, you want the quarterback to slow it down and control a little bit, you can do that too. So that's the beauty of this. You can, and there's a bunch of different TCU, Oklahoma, you know, all the teams, you know, that's really made their living in this system. They're not a breakneck speed, as fast as you can go, and you go and you look, and they're not going to be the number one, number two, number three, you know, most called plays in a game. But when they want to go fast, they can go fast. and that's a strength to this offense, and that will be something different than what you've probably seen in the past few years here.
How much, if any, does your role change in actually coordinating the passing game, or maybe are there some different things that Garrett has asked you to do?
Yeah, we're still kind of new in the process. The biggest thing right now was, right when he got here, we jumped right on the road recruiting. So I mean, he was here a day or two, and the next thing you know, me and him was in a plane, and we're headed out on a recruiting trail. We're not even talking offense or football, but as we've grown our relationship and kind of go through this spring and see how it all comes together, I'm sure there'll be more that kind of comes down from, we're not talking game planning yet or any of that type of stuff. For me, it's been, I've been in the system for 13 years. So, obviously the last 7 I've been out of the system, being here at Clemson, but for 13 years, this is what I ran at North Gwinnett High School, Southeastern Louisiana University, and Northwestern High School. So he knows that and knew that coming in, and he knew how familiar I was with the system. So that's helped us too, just kind of me seeing his version of it and learning it, and that's what's been great for me. Like I said, I've been out of it for 7 years. It's kind of like you ride a bike, you never forget it, but it's been really good for me to I'm not starting from scratch, but with Garrett, I'm learning his signals, I'm learning, what he sees in certain play calls based off of what I saw, in the past of running it. So that's been really good to kind of spend some time with him on that. But, from a passing game coordinator standpoint, we're going to work together like we always do, but at the end of the day, he's the offense coordinator, and he'll call the plays, and I can't wait to be a part of it in whatever capacity he needs me in.
What have you seen out of Jake Brainswell so far, and just where do you think he can kind of take a step forward this season?
Brenny's been, I've just seen a totally different Brainswell. I told him yesterday, I am super proud of him. I've challenged him a lot since I've taken over the tight end spot. He's such a talented player, and with that, he still has so much room to grow and how far he can go based off his potential. Again, like anything else, as we've spent more time together and our relationship has grown, he trusts me more, and he knows that I want what's best for him too. But my biggest challenge to him going into this off season was, hey, I need to see you take another step in maturity. I need to see you take another step in leadership, and I need to see consistency. And he has been really, really good in all 3 of those areas. With losing Luke out of the room, and with losing Davis out of the room, from a leadership standpoint, that's 2 huge pieces of the puzzle. Great players, but what they did to lead this group, it's hard to replace that. And that's what I challenge Brenny with. And Sage too. Sage has done a really good job. This is the first spring where Sage has been healthy and has been able to do some good things and be out there. So I'm excited for the whole room with this new offense. They're excited about it. I see a different look in their eyes as they come to meetings, as they come to practice. But I would say right now, we're halfway through spring. I'm very pleased with the entire group, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this new offense.
Speaking of this offense, you go to Southeast Louisiana, you've got Hal and
Southeastern.
or Southeastern.
Put some respect on the white guy's name,
But you've got Hal Mummy, Matt Mummy, the air raid. You learn it, bring it back to South Carolina. Is that really your first experience with it? And obviously you brought it back. So
yeah, I was so originally when I went to meet with Hal and Matt and Gary Goff, who's the head coach of McNeese State, they were all at Southeastern, and I was at North Gwinnett High School in Georgia, and so I was there for 2 years, and the head coach I was working for there worked with Coach Mummy at Kentucky and at Southeastern. So he actually sent me down there to learn it, to bring it back to North Gwinnett, so I could, we could install it at North Gwinnett. So I was at North Gwinnett with it, installed it at North Gwinnett, then went to Southeastern after that, was a part of that run, and then brought it to Northwestern. So between those 3 schools, it was 13 years of being in the system. But yeah, nobody was really doing it in the state of South Carolina. Obviously, Bobby was having a good run at Burns during that with spread, and they were probably the best spread team at that point. And we did it a little bit different. We did it this air raid version. But yeah, and then it was funny. A lot of coaches in the state. I was new to the state, and now bringing this weird system, and we're gonna do things a little bit different. And I got made fun of by a lot of coaches in the state. And then a couple years later, we weren't getting made fun of anymore for running what we were running. So now a lot of people running in the state, and which is cool to see. It's kind of grown, and there's a lot of air raid versions of this offense in the state of South Carolina now.
So to piggyback off of that, yes, everybody ran the veer or the option or something like that as a way to try and compete. And then after you started doing that, how much did you see the proliferation of the spread 4 and 5 wide?
Yeah, it's just like anything else. It was a lot of doubts, and then you start having some success with it, and then people want to start, doing it or trying to do it. The key to it is there's a lot of people that'll try to copycat it, but it's not about the plays. It's about how you practice it. You got to practice it a certain way. You got to meet a certain way. You got to have a mentality a certain way to get out there and do the thing as a coach. Do some of the things that you're going to do. So, I saw a lot of people come through Northwestern when I was there, and we were open doors just like we are here, and show you whatever you want. Teach you whatever you want. But very few, if any, would walk out of there and fully commit to it. And that's the thing. You have to 100% commit to this system and how it's run, practiced, the whole 9. And Coach Swinney's done that. It hasn't been a situation where, and I knew that when Garrett was coming and bringing it, I knew that, hey, you can't go half and half. You can't be 75-25, and you can't piece together what the best part of what Garrett does to the best part of what Clemson did in the past or whatever. It's got to be 100%, and Coach has done an awesome job with that. Just, hey, you got the keys. This is why I brought you here. Teach it to these guys. Let's go, and let's get our confidence back, and let's get our swagger back. And it's just been fun to see the kids respond. They're having fun, and they're just kind of not. You said earlier, it's just a lot easier and more simple, where they're not bogged down in a lot of details, and they just go play football. That's why they came here. They came here to get a great education from Clemson. They came here to play football. And they came here to play football at a high level. And for most of these kids, they watched a lot of dudes out there make a lot of plays offensively that looked a lot of fun, and they wanted to be a part of that. And I think that's where we're going. I think that's where we're headed back to. Just need a little change, and that's what we got. And change is tough, but change can be really, really good too.
So I don't know if Dabo told you personally. You got a text. Garrett Riley's coming here. Just what were your initial thoughts? This is my wheelhouse now.
Yeah, I was excited. I think somebody quoted me as pig in mud. I've heard that a couple times. I said, geez, I shouldn't have said that. I keep getting gifts of pigs rolling around in mud for people. And I don't remember saying it, but obviously I said it.
Sounds like Dabo.
Yeah, so now I get, gifts of pigs in mud, and I'm like, what in the world does that mean? And then they tell me whatever. So I was very excited. I had sat here, obviously being in it for 13 years and then being here. I always watched, for years. I would always, at the end of the season, go, I just love to study offenses and what makes offenses tick, and not just ours or air raid or whatever. So you always look at like the top 5, top 10 offenses in the country. and they all had basically the same MO. They didn't run a lot of plays, but they were great at a handful of stuff. And when you looked at the top offenses in the country, year in, year out, there was two things that stood out. It was academies, Army, Navy, right, Air Force, and then it was the Oklahomas, you know, it was the Texas Techs or wherever, you know, back in the day. So when you look at those, and even to an extent, you know, Baylor, you know, years ago, when they were running a version of it. So, you know, I always envision, man, with the players that we have here, if we could run a version of this system, like, we could shoot up to that, you know? And so as soon as I heard that Garrett was coming, it was like, man, I was like, obviously I was excited, but the flip side of it was like, for years, I wanted to get back to that. And I didn't have to leave Clemson to get back to that, which is even better. So for me, I mean, I can't say, and I'd heard a lot of great, me and Garrett both were like, you know, I know his brother, you know, over the years, but me and Garrett both was like, when he first got here, he was like, I think I've met you somewhere. I think we've come across each other somewhere, but he couldn't get past. I guess because I had the beard, it didn't connect. So one day he's in my office and my business card, you know, obviously I'm you know, clean shaven in my business card. And he's like, I knew I'd met you somewhere before. And it was when he was at East Carolina, and I would go up there to see Lincoln and talk ball, and he was up there. So anyway, it's been good to just, you know, grow a relationship with him. And like I said, I'm super fired up that we get to do this at Clemson, and we get to see this offense at Clemson with the talent that we got.
So how does Garrett's version of the air raid compare to what you were in? And if there's some new elements that you've had to learn?
Almost identical. Not much difference. There's a couple things, maybe odd end stuff that maybe I did different. There was a couple things, odd end stuff that he does different. But I mean, those are like one-offs, not from a base core, you know, conceptual part of the offense, like identical.
Seems like there's a lot more balls in the air in practice now, just two quarterbacks throwing it at a time, receivers throwing on the side, that kind of stuff. Just how much do you think that helps too, or do you think it does help some?
All right, so I don't know if you're taping this, but we got to rewind the tape, all right? And what I said, you got to practice it a certain way, right? So none of that stuff is foreign to me, because in 2003, when I was down in Louisiana learning this offense, Southeastern Louisiana, all right? Get your coordinates right, all right? When I was learning the offense, that's what I was told, 2003. You got to practice a certain way, and those are certain ways that you got to practice it. You know, quarterbacks got to throw balls, and they got to throw it to the guys that's going to catch them: receivers, running backs, tight ends. And there should be no wasted rep. Nobody should be standing around when we could have 5 balls flying. Let's go. And I did some of that on, you know, y'all probably see my pre-practice a little bit last year, and in between drills, I did a lot of that with the tight ends. You know, that was the group that I could control and handle, and that's what we did. We did some of the pre-practice drills that we do now. We did those it was just on a smaller scale with tight ends, but you know, you got to believe in a lot of stuff, and the practice and the way you practice and that part that you're seeing, that's it. You got to do that, and if you don't, you're going to be just average with this scheme. So that's when you see that.
To the average fan or whoever, what's the most obvious way this offense is going to look different? Like, where are they going to see it's like, oh, that's how it's different?
I mean, every offense, I mean, to the average fan, you know, they just want to see people making plays, you know. And to me, I think you put in this offense, you put players in better positions to make plays. So, I mean, there's some plays that are in this scheme that we've run for 7 and 8 years, and 9, and, you know, all the way back to Chad. But just overall, with it being easier, not as much, and now you can spend more time formation of people, motion of people, change the look for the defense. It just puts players in better space to make plays. So I would say that would be the biggest thing. You'll probably see, I know we're gonna throw the ball downfield more than in the past. There's a lot of crossing routes and you know, intermediate in the middle, in between the hashes that are part of the concept. So you'll see probably more balls in that 10 to 15 yard area in the middle of the field. So you'll see some things like that maybe stand out, but at the end of the day, it's about putting our best players in position to make plays. And it's just easier to do that when you're not kind of locked in a box of this play has to be this, it has to be these people on the field, and they're stuck where they are. That's not really how this is. This play may be that, and we may do this, and this, and move this guy around in 3-4 different positions 3 different times, but it's still this play. So the quarterback don't care where they're all at. He just knows what? This play. Does that make sense? So it allows somebody like Antonio, all right? Like, we go into a week and we go, how can we get tone on their worst DB without changing the offense? How can we get Brenny on their worst interior defender without changing the play? So that's probably what you'll see a little bit more of. And then obviously you're gonna the receivers are gonna, the outside receivers are gonna stay on their sides. We're not gonna be moving all over the place. That'll probably be one of the biggest things that you'll see a big difference. The average fan, you won't see a lot of people running around to get lined up. We'll get lined up quick, and then from there, we can either run the play quick, or we can just run it at a normal tempo, but we'll be able to get lined up quicker and not just kind of be all over the place, kind of herky-jerky to even get lined up to start the play. And that will probably be, I'm thinking about it, that'll be probably one of the bigger things that you'll see. I also think you'll be able to take advantage of Maffa and Shipley and those guys. So here's what's gonna happen. With being able to spread people out and being able to attack more downfield, even in some of the screen game, what's gonna happen is you're gonna lighten up that box, because the threat, not necessarily what the percentages are, but the threat of you being able to throw the football at a high level is gonna loosen that box up, because they gotta come out and defend. And now you're gonna get Phil, you're gonna get Shipley, you're gonna get them on 5-man boxes or really loose boxes, just from the threat of the pass. I used to kid around at you know, when I was at Northwestern, I never called the offense air raid. Like, I didn't get called, like, a name doesn't mean anything. It's about what you execute and what you do. But you know, a lot of the media would be like, man, air raid, so that means what? We're gonna throw it all over the place. They come to practice and see routes on air and see 5 quarterbacks throwing 5 balls for 10 minutes, and it's like, man, that dude never runs the ball, you know? Well, I would never correct him. And I would never say, hey, you need to check the percentage of run versus pass. I didn't tell them that. I wanted them to write the articles that said I throw it all over the place. Because that defensive coordinator next week is reading your article saying, man, that dude never runs the ball. Well, great, don't defend the run then. And next thing you know, you got a 4-man box, 5-man box. And here we are, Gash City in the run game. So, you know, don't get it twisted that just because we throw a lot of balls at practice right now, and we putting Maffa and Shipley on the shelf. No, this benefits them just as much as it benefits anybody else on our offensive side.
You're telling us you're using smoke screens right now for all those defensive coordinators out there.
It is what it is.
Did you?
They don't read y'all's articles.
Shit.
Did you think that was an issue the last couple of years, that some defenses just didn't respect the passing games once they had, so the line was more crowded, the box was more crowded than usual?
I mean, you know, we didn't complete some balls that we needed to complete to probably loosen them up a little bit, but no, I mean, I don't think we went into games and said, man, they don't, you know, respect the passing game at all, and you know, but with this version of a system, it's easier to loosen them up, probably versus what we did in the past. And with a guy like, you know, we've talked about Brenny. With a guy like Brenny, you know, is his strength going to be more in the box or matchup problems out in space? Well, let's you know, we're not to say that we're not going to use him in the box, but we'll probably use him more in space than we have in the past, just because the system's a little bit different. So then that benefits him, but it also benefits the run game. You don't need that extra blocker in there sometimes, because the threat of him being out here, it's like Kelsey with Kansas City. You know, you better go out there and defend him if he's out there. I don't care if he's got TE beside his name as tight end. And then what happens? You get some, even at that level, you get some looser boxes. But at the same time, Brennan, Sage, and whoever it is, has got to come back in the box and be physical enough to help us in the run game too, because we're not going away from that either. So we're going to be fine.
I think Cade ran a version of this, I guess at Westlake.
Yeah,
a little
I think
bit.
so.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like he has a certain comfort, you can tell, with this style? And you think this
Yeah, I think it fits him well. I don't know like exactly what version of offense he ran, but you know, with his skill set, this is a really good fit for him. But you know, he's loving it and having a ball out there running around making plays, and that whole quarterback group has been awesome to see. Just kind of take in a new coach at their position, but also a new offensive system, and man, they're out there having a blast.
I think the learning curve is kind of an equalizer. Usually the freshmen come in and they're all trying to learn the playbook and the offense. Now you got upperclassmen trying to learn all the same things. Does it kind of bridge the gap a little bit between the classes?
You know, it's what's been cool about it is just kind of seeing, you know, it's kind of been an equal, you know, level playing field for all the players and a bunch of the coaches too. You got to remember that the coaches don't know the system either. So it's been pretty cool to watch us all just kind of go out there and start from square one, you know, and go learn it and have a good time doing it. And it's just been, the players have been awesome. They've accepted all the changes and have been really excited about it. And like I said, for me, it's a different kind of excitement for me, because now I get to kind of go back to what I loved and what, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I had a lot of success with that offense, which allowed me to get the attention of Coach Sweeney to eventually get a job here. So it's just kind of come full circle to be able to have that offense here now, and for me to continue to grow in it too, and learn new things from Garrett. That's been great for me is to learn the tweaks and why he thinks the way he thinks, and that's only going to make me better for my future too.
How do you
Maybe
kind of
one
look
or
back
two more?
at your first year on the field here? Kind of, I guess, how do you kind of look back at it as a big picture, I guess takeaways, what you learned, that kind of stuff when you're moving ahead?
Yeah. You know, for me, it was the first time ever coaching tight ends. I never coached tight ends before. I coached quarterbacks and receivers. So I was telling somebody the other day, like, things are so, like, have slowed down for me on the field at practice. And there's two parts to that. You know, the one part of it is I know the system, so that makes things slower for me. But I also know, you know, the ins and outs of tight end play better than I did at this time last year. And, you know, I understand how a tight end fits within this system probably better than I know how a tight end fit in our previous system, because that was new to me. So I was trying to grasp that part of it, where I've played with a tight end before in this system, and coached receivers in this system. So when the tight end's out of the box, it's like he's another receiver. So I just know it better, regardless of whether it's a tight end or a receiver. So to me, it's kind of slowed down to where, and I got a better relationship with the tight ends because we've been together for a year now, that with the guys that have come back. So I trust them more and they trust me more, and we're just having a good time installing this offense and learning it and growing it. So I would say things have just slowed down for me, and I just see it a little bit better now.
Going to your tight ends, they say motivational Monday, Tupac Tuesday, Wheezy Wednesday.
That's right. Weezy
And
Whitney Wednesdays.
Wheezy Whitney,
It's a
sorry.
mix. It's a mix.
Sage said that he loves that, you know, no country music allowed. But how do you
I'd
kinda?
walk out of this session if you dropped a country song right now.
How do you use that music to kind of get those guys focused in? I mean, how does that work together?
You know, we got, when we go to practice, you know, we got Tanoga Tuesdays and Working Man Wednesday, and I've always had music, and I've always named it, you know, it's a routine. And I'm trying to build a routine with them. So to me, it's like, all right, well, we're gonna have a routine in music when it comes to the season. So you know, on Tuesday when we come in here and Pac's blasting, you know what today is? It's Tupac Tuesday. It's also Tanoga Tuesday, right? So they connect together, and they know the routine, and they understand it, and they start connecting the dots. They know on Friday's Focus Friday. So on Friday, we have like a 10-minute meeting, that's all we really get. So on Focus Friday, there's no music on Friday, because I need them to understand it's Focus Friday for Clemson football. So there's no music. But you know, it's Throwback Thursday. You didn't mention Throwback Thursday. That's probably the day they don't like as much, because it's just a mixture of a lot of, you know, 90s and early 2000s, and they're just not as hip to that as I am. But they're starting to really come along on the Wheezy Whitney. You know, today we had a 6 a.m. position meeting, and I went to wake them up. You know, I'm gonna crank something up as loud as we can go, and before I could even hit it, Banks Pope goes, "I'd like to have a little Whitney Houston to get me ready." So of course, hey, top of our lungs, I will always love you. And that's how I end this media session. I will always love you.
Thank you, Coach.
Good?
Love you too.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.